Well, as you can see, the snow is falling and the cloud has come in for this, the final leg of the men's triple here at Lillehammer. Having completed the sprint on Friday, the freestyle race yesterday, we're looking ahead now to the 15-kilometer classic race for the men in pursuit form. Before that, just a reminder of what lies ahead. Once the classic pursuit is determined, it'll be back to Östersund with Patrick Winterton for the women's pursuit. And then over on Eurosport 2, if you were with us very early this morning, it's the second and decisive part of the Gundersen. The individual ski jumpers are looking forward to their second event. That's at 2:15 Central European time, and conditions at the moment, fingers crossed, a lot better than they were yesterday, and North America rounds off the action for the weekend. Well, Mike Dixon alongside myself, David Goldstrom, and if this men's race, which comes up in about 11-12 minutes time from now, can be anything like the women's race that we witnessed and enjoyed a little earlier this morning, well, it will be an amazing cross-country morning. And so an opportunity to look back at the duel between Therese Johaug and Marit Bjørgen. Marit Bjørgen ultimately just getting the better of her younger rival by 600. She started out with determination, knowing that she had a 32-second cushion over this woman, Tiny Teresa, the World Cup defending champion who has started the season in cracking form. As they came to 8,300 meters, Teresa had closed that gap, but Marit Bjørgen out-sprinted her to the line. The double poling strength of Marit Bjørgen, the decisive factor at the end of 10,000 meters in classic style.
Yeah, it's,
yesterday,
the first 5 kilometers I had around 25, 29, and then we was out after 7, 8 kilometers. I heard it was 20, and then it was suddenly 13, and then we have the long climbing, so I thought, oh, she will come, and she did in the last 100 meters of the climbing, and I thought I have to stay here, and I should beat her in the end in the sprint. So, and I did. I'm really happy for that. And yeah, you can see Therese is in very good shape, and she's strong, and I have to fight to the finish line today. So I'm really happy to win.
So Marit Bjørgen with 519 points is the leader of the World Cup. Therese Johaug with 388. A third place on the podium for Heidi Weng. 3 in a row for her. Østberg is fourth. Norwegians occupying the top 4 places in the overall World Cup rankings after their visit to Lillehammer. 8 minutes to go to the start of the men's 15-kilometer conclusion of their Lillehammer triple. So an opportunity to look back at yesterday's race, the 15 kilometers in freestyle. Well, once again, it was Norwegians very much to the fore in that particular race, and finishing in third place, Sjøråta, coming in to get his best result of the season, and he was really chuffed as a result of this. The next man to chase home, Martin Jonsrud Sundby, the World Cup champion of last season, to take the lead away from Sjøråta. And then it was just left to Finn Krogh, perhaps better known as a sprinter, but really showing his all-round prowess here by coming in not to take the lead, but to split the other 2 Norwegians, but to create yet another Norwegian clean sweep. And of all the cross-country nations,
I think I'm even more happy for my friends at the team. The Norwegian team today was amazing, and we have all 3 places at the podium, and still we have a lot of guys close behind. So I'm really happy for them. We have trained hard for so many months now, and to be able to have so many amongst the top 10 is amazing. And for me, as a kind of a captain for this team, it's I get a bit touched when the guys are so good.
Yeah, another remarkable day. It's certainly been Norway's Lillehammer weekend. And that's the story so far, and here's the way they're going to start, because this is putting together the three races: the sprint from Friday, the freestyle race from yesterday, and today's competition. And there you can see the time differences. So Finn Kroh, who was the runner-up yesterday, starts with a 20-second advantage over Martin Jonsrud Sundby. Paul Goldberg, 26 seconds, excellent sprint victory from him on Friday. Shirota is in fourth place, and then we come to the first of the Swedes, like Kalle Halvarsson. So it's a very similar leaderboard, if you like, or starting list to the women earlier today. But we can also get a little bit excited, can't we? Mike Dixon alongside me, because Britain's Andrew Musgrave, who finished 13th, the best ever British Nordic skiing result yesterday, fantastic achievement, is now going to start today with bib number 10 as a result of one or two defectors. And what an occasion for him. And Mike's going to give you his views on that in a few moments, because as you can see that we've also had a weather change. 4 minutes to 12, and this is the course that lies ahead for the world's best Nordic skiers in the men's division. Mike Dixon alongside me, and Mike, just as it was for the women, it's a 5-kilometre loop and a really demanding one, as you see the start list with the time differentials.
There's the time differentials. It's recognised as a very tough course. Sundby said that at the end of yesterday. He said that there's no point in this course really where you get much recovery. You're working for all the tight bends and pushing yourself to the limit on most of this track. Looking further down the start sheet, the Russians maybe not as strong as they thought they might be coming into this post-Olympic season, but certainly, you mentioned earlier, Andrew Musgrave, a wonderful performance on his earned 10th position after the two previous days in this 3-day mini tour, if you like.
Well, it's a long start list, and it's going to be very competitive. The changing conditions are going to change the complexion of the race. But for Andrew Musgrave of Great Britain, a day to really remember. He was in Ruka in Finland a weekend ago, where in the 15-kilometre race he put up his best ever classic performance. Can he eclipse that and go better today? Let's hear from him.
Great Britain sitting 13th overall, less than 5 seconds out of the top 10. We know you can sprint well here on this course. You excited for a 15 Classic?
Yeah, I'm excited, yeah, you could say. Skating is normally my stronger discipline, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But the last 2 days have been all right, yeah. I feel like I'm in pretty good shape, so yeah, should be good.
All right, well, good luck today.
Thank you very much.
Fair play to young Andrew, and a very good afternoon, or well, it's still good morning for you up in the Huntly Ski Club. I hope you're going to watch this with intensity and optimism. But as Andrew alluded to there, at the moment, despite the fact that he's really improved his classic skiing, skating is still his forte, so he's going to start with bib 10. Now, just to clarify that, of course, the results from the previous 2 days are added together, and that's why he's starting in 10th place in his own right with a 59-second deficit. But when I tell you that's only 39 behind Martin Jonsrud Sundby, the World Cup champion of last season, you can see the progress that Andrew is making. "45 seconds away from the start of the men's 15-kilometre classic pursuit to conclude and determine the outcome of the Lillehammer triple here. The sprint on Friday, the freestyle yesterday, the classic today, and Paul Goldberg will start 26 seconds behind Finn Hagen Kroh, his Norwegian teammate, and ahead of him, Martin Jonsrud Sundby. The first four away are all Norwegian. Andrew Musgrave, who produced a lifetime best for himself and British Nordic Skiing yesterday, wears bib number 10, 59 seconds. He's going to be in a big pack of athletes, and that will really test him. This is real racing. This is shoulder to shoulder. This is real man stuff, as the man who leads us off here, Finn Hagen Krogh, gets a big cheer from the Norwegian fans. Mike Dixon alongside myself, David Goldstrom. The conditions have changed since the women's race. The servicemen will have had to have made adjustments, Mike.
They have been in a little state of panic, David, because the temperature's raised 1 degree, and we've seen a snowfall in the last 40 minutes, and that does change the elements or the best possible wax selections, and they certainly have frantically been trying to find the best options.
Kalle Hervalsen, the first of the non-Norwegian challengers, wearing bib number 5 away. Nicholas Drohag wears 6, and then 7. That's 7 is Yevgeny Belov. On the right of your picture, 8 awaiting Matti Heikkinen, and then 9 on the left-hand side. Jespersen on the right-hand side. There's Andrew Musgrave, and just taking in some oxygen, waiting for his turn. 11 is Alex Harvey from Canada. He's in really illustrious company. 13 coming forward there. Bernard Tritcher. Legjanin goes away there. Glersen, Petter Northug behind Andrew Musgrave. Now that's an interesting situation. 22, that's Didrik Tønseth, who had a really good race in freestyle yesterday. Larkov is away. 28, that's Roland Clara in the red of Italy. And then 31, that was Jonas Dobler for Germany. 37, Robin Dubiard for France. And they are now on the first 900-meter climb. Well, Mike, the women's race was stunning between Johaug and Marit Bjørgen. Can we possibly have that sort of finish today here in the men's finale?
I think so, David, and the fact that it's 15 kilometres for the men, a lot can happen. Finn Hagen Krogh up front here with 20 seconds. It's a big lead, but you could say strategically Sundby's going to be trying to close that down like Johaug did in the women's race. He'll try and close the gap quickly if he can.
And Sundby characterised this as one of the toughest courses on the tour.
I think all the athletes are agreeing they're all tired today. Those who actually took the sprints to the final more so than the rest. And you can see the terrain here. It is brutal, and the descent, they will be picking up to 70 kilometers per hour on the fastest of the descents today. And on these skinny skis, and look at the heel is free. You've got no real support, so you're working your legs not just on the uphills but on the downs as well.
So here comes the 24-year-old Finn Hagen Krogh up to the 900-meter mark, and then as the others come through, we'll get an initial time check as to speed. It's 3 rotations around this 5,000-meter loop, and you can see it's quiet in the forest, and the temperature certainly changed here. And of course, Krogh, runner-up yesterday, he was 3rd in the freestyle sprint, so the gap was 20 seconds, and well, that's just about being maintained there. Paul Goldberg was 26 off, so he's closed up really on Sundby.
Those 4 will certainly work together if they need to, but Sundby, it's in his interest to try and close some of the time to the lead, but Krogh looked a little tense and panicked at the front. Interesting
that Halvarsen has made a big move to move up there with the Norwegians, because he was actually 28 seconds off, so he's actually made a decision very early on in the race that he wants to be there, he wants to be involved. Now we're seeing them coming up here, and there's 10, Andrew Musgrave going through. Musgrave with 61 seconds, so that's actually only a couple of seconds time loss, but it's traffic that he's got to negotiate as well as race pace.
Well, there's huge traffic, David. In the 30 seconds behind Andrew's time, there are 32 athletes, and over 15 kilometres, they will pack. They'll try and close those ahead of them, and that's what makes this race exciting. There's the strategic little moves all the way down the pack.
Yeah, and what Andrew's trying to do, which they're all trying to do initially, is to find that rhythm. And of course, as he said himself, things have gone much better on the Classic, but whether they've got well enough to hold on 10th position, probably not, to be honest. But it'll be fascinating to see where he can end up and how he manages his energy, which he did extremely well yesterday, how he does that over 15 kilometres.
And he's such a fighter. When you're in a packed situation like this, it is easier. Rather than being out on your own, and as he was last Sunday in the 15-kilometre up in the north of Finland, you're racing against the clock. Here you have people to assist with pacing and tucking in behind them. It does help in the packed situation.
So they're moving on now towards 2,200 metres. The first, this is what I call the medium climb, and then from 2,200 up to 3,300, that's the demanding climb.
It certainly is demanding. The third time around, the first time around, you're trying to find your pace, and if your name's Krogh, you're trying to desperately hang on to that 20-second lead. So he really is going a little over, I think, his comfort zone, and will that catch up with him later? It remains to be seen. Easiest part of the track is this little bit here, so you've got 40 seconds maximum where it's flat, and that's about the only recovery in this whole 5-kilometre profile track. Goldberg using his stature and his reach through the double poling to slightly move forward.
Yeah, Paul Goldberg there, who can certainly do the distance ahead of Jonsrud Sundby, and I think that's a tactic I would recognise from Sundby. He will just want to see how the pace is unfolding and won't want to do too much work too early there. And Shirota at the back of that little group 7 in picture there, that's Yevgeny Belov, and comes round with Druhag. Now Druhag actually has he was actually in running time, he was the quickest up the first 900 metres, and he's the quickest to 2,200 in sheer running time. So there you can see the gaps going back, and Musgrave with 63 seconds. So again, that's just another 2 seconds that he's lost there between 900 and 2,200, and I don't mean that in a critical way, it's just informative.
It is, and he's improved so much though, and with his 1:16 behind the winner and 15 kilometres last weekend, that's a good indication of form in the Classic. And as I say, I honestly think he can, if he's got the right wax on his skis, he'll have the ability to hold less than that today, and maybe even stay in his top 15, top 20 position would still be great today, but let's hope it can be more positive and up in the top 10.
Halvarsen in that chasing second group there from Falun Bolanga. And Mike and myself will be out at the Nordic Ski World Championships, all being well, in February, and looking forward to what should be a Nordic fest out there.
Falun will put on a great show. They've got the tracks. We saw the adjustments to the tracks last year in the final races of the season. They look good.
Yeah, none of the tracks are gimmies. They're all tough.
And I think we're expecting 50,000 up to maybe even 100,000 spectators on the bigger days.
Well, most of Norway will invade, won't they? Surely.
They will.
I mean, it's so easy for them to go across, really. But hopefully we'll get a good international following. I think we really will.
Oh, it's going to be a wonderful festival showcase of the best skiers in action.
So here you can see this is the steepest of the climb. You just saw there that Finn Krogh just extending a little bit as he hit those rises there. Now a bit of double poling, and again, this is the biggest test the Norwegian servicemen have faced all weekend. Everything else has been reasonably straightforward for them.
It must be frantic. Of course, the home nation can enter more athletes into the race, 17 athletes, and that's an awful lot of athletes to prepare for in these conditions. Krogh was, as you say, using the terrain, looking very smooth up the front, no tension in his body after nearly 9 minutes of racing.
So, doing the donkey work, Paul Goldberg, and then you see the difference in physique there. Jonsrud Sundby, but fantastic engine inside that body there, just quickens up a little bit. Kalle Halvarsen there, who clearly has a race plan in his mind, and is sitting there. And I think the reason why he wanted to get very quickly involved was so that he was actually able to visually see what was going on and to react, and not just taking information off a coach's board.
That is so true. We saw Sunbi slip badly there, and when you slip, you're expecting to get this grip, and your foot slips all the way back and again, and you have to catch your fall. You're basically going to fall when that ski slips back. You have to adjust your technique by shortening your stride, keeping the hips further forward.
Yeah, and this is not a race where you can change your skis. There are no bonus points for irregular sprints throughout. It's a straightforward competition over 15 kilometers, and now they're coming up to 3,300 meters, and we get another time check there, and Paul Goldberg 17 seconds behind. Now going back to the beginning differential, he was 26 seconds behind, so they've made some inroads into Finn Krog's time, and of course that was always going to happen with the likes of Shirota in there as well, chasing and working together.
It will be a very tough journey for Krog to maintain this lead. I don't think he's going to be able to maintain the lead, although the first of the chasing packs, they've only got it down to 18 seconds.
Yeah, but it's 15 kilometers the journey. So Shirota doing a bit of the donkey work. Paul Goldberg takes over. Kalle Halvarsson and Shirota at the back there, not interested in doing anything at the moment.
I think he's one of the athletes in this lead 5-10 who is definitely stronger in his freestyle, Shirota, than he is in the classic.
Now I just wonder here, of course we're into the last 1,700 meters of this first rotation. I just wonder with Jonsrud Sundby with one or two slips, whether he actually was conscious of the fact that he needed to try and close the gap on the downhill and the flat, because maybe he's conscious of losing time on the climb. Just trying to see Andrew Musgrave amongst that pack there. Just lost him for... there he is, just coming up round the turn now, past the Audi sign. And as you said, he's been right amongst a whole load of competitors. He's just ahead there of Alex 10, just ahead of Anders Gløsen. So coming into the stadium, Finn Krog. Now he had an 18-second lead over Goldberg, Sundby, Halvarsson and Shirota, and then a 45-second gap back to Belov and Druhag. Druhag actually individually travelling quite quickly, and Legjanin and Heikkinen and Jespersen also skiing quite well. Just looking back to Musgrave. Musgrave 63 seconds back, and that was at 3,300 metres at the top, or almost at the top of that climb.
It's still, I think that's sensible pacing from Andrew. There's another 10 kilometres to go once they cross the split time in the stadium here.
But the chasing pack, of course, have cut that 19 seconds down to 13 seconds now as they go out on the second rotation. And here comes posse number 3, and it really is a bit like the cavalry here. And there you can see the differences building up. We'll have a look for Andrew Musgrave's differential as he goes through.
It's a little further back is Andrew in this next chain coming down.
Petter Northug's moved up a few places, as the Olympic champion has, Les, and going through, just trying to check on that. We'll give you another update on Andrew Musgrave as soon as we can. Meanwhile, Finn Krog still out leading. This is the situation. So they've cut it back. Remember, they started... Sundby was 20 seconds back, 26 seconds back to Paul Goldberg. And then when you look at the like of Rickerson, he was 68 seconds off the pace.
Northug is moving well out there. He's in terms of deficit, he's pulled it back to 51 seconds, and he started 107 behind Krog. So I think Northug's realizing that yesterday he was, in terms of the 10-kilometer freestyle stand alone, he was only the 10th fastest Norwegian, so he really realises now that he has to try to get himself into that key figure in the Norwegian team.
Now Sundby with this little breakaway from Kalle Halvarsen, who's trying to cover that move. And what I was suggesting was that in that 1700 metres, when they reached the top of that climb first time around, that maybe Sundby was determined that on that drop down into the stadium, it was a good opportunity. That was where he thought he could make up time, because we've seen him slip on these climbs through the first 5,000 metres. This is coming up to 5,900. And if he's perhaps conscious that he might just not have the best of skis, that he might want to try to get away.
Well, I love the way that Sundby, this is a brave attack, and he is adjusting. You're right about it slipping. Sundby is adjusting his stride, much shorter stride, almost running, and to create this kind of gap from Halvorsen and the rest of his teammates, that's a big effort. He's put in a complete surge of pace to try and make contact with Krogh now.
Yeah, because 12, 13 seconds, that's not too different to where they were going through the stadium at 5,000 metres. So it's Sundby who actually has made up 8 seconds in that 900-metre climb.
Big turn of pace, and that with that turn change of pace is like the Kenyans on the running track. You put in a surge, not many people can live with it.
And again, maybe in Sundby's mind, that was the easiest of the 3 climbs, the first 900 metres. So that was where he really needs to put the effort in. And look at this. Leg Janin up there, and Colonia going quite well, 52 seconds off.
Legkov, well, he's still hanging around the position in which he started in the race. In fact, he's dropped a couple, actually. Legkov, he started in 19th and he's now in 21st. 42 moving forward. Østensen. Well, Sundby, this is a brave attack to try and close the gap down at, say, half distance. He'll probably put in another surge of pace now to try and pull this final 4 seconds deficit back in.
Yes, and I think he'll try to use, if he can, depending on where he is, the 1,700-metre drop down in the stadium to really go past and, you know, take command of the race. Because I think he thinks that if he doesn't have the best pair of skis and they're not gripping as well on the 3rd rotation, he could be vulnerable. So he wants a cushion of advantage. And you can see the way they've pulled away here. And really, it's all this is Sundby's doing, because it's pushing Finn Hagen Krogh all the way now.
He is, and I think if he closes this gap, which he is most likely to do, then the front pair with Krogh and Sundby, they're good mates. They will work together, so they'll try and work out a strategy. Although Krogh is not having it, he's not having the door closed completely. He's trying to keep this gap, pushing even harder.
Well, also, you've got the better sprinter here, haven't you? And he just has a little look around to check on what's happening. And we're not quite at the half distance. That's important to remember. And now there's a little gap back there. I think it's Paul Goldberg with Kalle Halvarsen, Shirota off the back. We'll get a check on that. And there you can see, in fact, that is Paul Goldberg.
Still 12 seconds. Well, Rote, Halvorsen. In fact, Goldberg dropping back a little.
Shirota's the one who's made the move. Last time we saw him, he was actually at the back, and now he's moved forward there. So he and Halvorsen, Goldberg, the one who's in trouble. And actually, just looking at him there, those skis weren't running that well.
Maybe not, and he did try and take some of the catch-up pace. Goldberg in the first 4 kilometres, he did a lot of the leading. And, well, paying the price for that now.
Yeah, the double poling of Goldberg didn't look good, but he's not out of energy for sure, but maybe he's just had a little bit of bad luck ski preparation wise. You just don't know. It's difficult to tell. 7,200 meters as the pack comes through, the really big pack, and you can see Colonia moving up here. Now this is interesting from Colonia, because Colonia was in 12th place with a 59-second deficit.
Well, that's it. Psychologically, he can Krogh is feeling Sundby now almost breathing on him.
Yeah, Colonia, of course, double Olympic champion, and There's no back number at 15 kilometres, classic style either.
An athlete that's impressing me in the big chasing pack is Di Fabiani, the 21-year-old Italian. He did get World Cup experience last year, but a real potential, and I think a big name for the future. Just 21-year-old. Now, what's Sumbi going to do? Technically, he would want to try and get in the slipstream and try and get his breathing back under control, rest up a little if you like.
Well, he's early enough in the race to do that, you know, just being around half distance. So he can just consolidate and get some oxygen into his lungs, get his breathing back to normal, get his rhythm moving in the way that he would wish. So again, he might be quite happy to take the lead off Fincro or up these climbs.
I think he'll take a little breather here for a short while. Then yes, he'll have to reanalyze, get himself recovered if that's possible at all, before he'll put the next attack in. But I do think they'll work together now at just over half distance. Shurota seems to have found some energy, realizing that the best place to be is up with the leaders.
Out of the tracks there, and just looking at that, and that is Shurota, who was herringboning Kalle Halvarsson. Not quite sure what's in his mind, because he doesn't seem to have made any sort of a move at the moment at all. And I was expecting him to try to respond to someone like Sundby, to, you know, just try and go with him. But maybe he's thinking that, you know, these two may still come back to them. And you can see there the big difference in the speeds between the leader and the chasing group. The chasing group actually 9 kilometers per hour to 17, so quite a difference.
This climb is just like torture. Nearly a kilometer of continual steep climbing. Technically, you have to be as efficient as possible, so rotation a little through the hips to get more reach up into the incline.
Now, this is where I want to watch what Sundby does. Is this where he decides to try and drop down to the stadium? So the other three have sort of got together, and their gap, though, has extended, as you can see. They were, what, 12, 13 seconds. Now, look at this. They're back to the sort of gaps where they started the race. Shirota at 20. He was 27 seconds at the start of the race. Kalle Halvarsson, 28. Paul Goldberg, 26. So they're back to where they started.
There, I'm impressed with Paul Goldberg getting back in. He realizes that for a chance of a medal, he has to keep up with these chasing 2, 3, and he's closed that 20 meters back.
The man in black from Davos. And this is Dario Cologna leading the chasing pack here. He started with a deficit of 59 seconds. And, well, it's just about the same for him as they come up to 8,300 meters. Well, there's the chasing pack. Mike, you made a good point a moment ago about those speed differentials.
Well, that's right. They're actually taking... It's a good indicator of what's happening, but they're on different terrain. If you're 20 seconds further down the track and you're in a fairly flat section of terrain, and then the athlete ahead is on the steepest part, of course you've got a big
it needs to be like for like
differential. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is Sundby still there, and there you can see for that Shurota up there ahead of Kalle Halvarsson. There are the three, and also together with Paul Goldberg. So do they think that they can reel them back in, you know, because basically the deficit extended back to 26 seconds, and round the turn they go. As soon as they go round the turn, the others lose the vision. As soon as they go over this little bridge, then again they'll lose visual contact.
I'm so impressed with Finn Hagen Krogh at the front there. He didn't guide Sundby through once. Sundby's had 2 or 3 minutes recovery. I thought he might put it in second attack, but Krogh keeping it strong.
Well, this is very interesting for me, because Finn Krogh would be the better sprinter. That would, if we took the Teresa Johaug, Marit Bjørgen comparison, if they were like this coming into the final 100, and you probably put your money on Finn Kroll. So I'm guessing that very, very soon, and I'm thinking on the first climb here, that Jonsrud Sundby is going to make a break and try to go away. Because if he's not going to do it on the descent and the sprint, he's got to do it on the climb.
Well, he has. I think he's probably still recovering from his turn of pace from the stadium last time to pull the 10 seconds to bridge that gap, the 12-second gap, in fact. And so he's just figuring out his next strategy. But this second group have given up. I thought Halvorsen was going to take it on, but not at 30 seconds.
Now, maybe they can't, and that would be a fairly understandable reason. But in a way, I'm disappointed because, you know, having got together, they've allowed this to drift away, and we've got a 3-horse race, basically, for third step on the podium.
But look at the energy here now. I think we've got more than 3 for that fight, because this group have got the energy with Pierre Harvey at the front, Alex Harvey at the front. Legkoff's in there, Vlejanen's in there, Cologne. Surely this will be another attempt to get onto the podium from one of these guys.
Well, it's all about the gap there, 63 seconds. That's, you know, quite a gap back to Paul Goldberg. You know, you're talking, what are you talking, 35, 40 seconds for 5,000 metres. That's still a big ask.
It's a huge ask. But
because you've got to expect that, you know, because there are 3 of them, Goldberg, Rota and Halvorsen, the 3 of them are vying for the podium, so it's inevitable that they are going to speed up at some point for the fight for the 3rd place.
Well, they're going to have to, but the energy through the stadium, there weren't any of them wanting to lead. Halvorsen was just like the objector going to the front because they know they have to keep the pace strongish.
Well, they've got a 33-second advantage, which under normal circumstances, unless those 3 dawdle again and make it tactical and start to mess around, thinking that they'll only have a go when they get into the stadium. I don't think Halvorsen can do that, because surely they'd be playing into the hands of Paul Goldberg, who is the best of the 3 in terms of sprinting.
Definitely. Well, Luke Sundby did get his recovery latched in behind for, what, 1.5 kilometres, but Krogh is going to try and make it difficult.
Yeah, he is, but this is where I thought on the easiest of the last 3 climbs, that's where he had to try to break away. But the break is not convincing yet. You probably only get one chance to do this in this race, and therefore Sundby hasn't broken him completely yet. But he needs to, because he knows that his rival is a sprinter. So he comes up here, 900 metres. This was the easiest place to make the break. Now he's got to turn the screw. He needs to really accelerate out of here. There's the acceleration. They
know each other so well, how they cope in training, how they cope under pressure. So it's a strategic game going on here. But I think that Sundby has almost won the battle.
He's eked out an extra metre on that right-hand turn there. Halvorsen in the chasing group there. And is that Goldberg out of the tracks? Looks to be just out of the tracks, having to herringbone up that section of the climb. And here you can see that what's happened up front there, the acceleration by Sundby and Krogh has now, from 26 seconds, it's now opened up, and it's 37 seconds. So these guys have really got to get going.
But this is where the chasing pack, this is where I think this group are going to be absorbed. It looks almost impossible, but I think they may well be. They're struggling. They've put a lot of early speed in, which has offset their race plan.
Well, that would put them about somewhere like 21, 22 seconds back, the chasing pack. Remember, they were 63 seconds, and the differential here is, what, 42? So...
Well, it was 31 or 2, wasn't it? They've got it now down to 18.
18, 20 seconds. So those 3 have wasted an opportunity, and they've opened the door of possibility. The belief is in that chasing group. And now Sundby leading the way here, but Finn Kroll still close enough, if good enough, but Sundby gaining in confidence.
Well, Sundby's put in the first attempt to snap Finn Krogh, but it didn't work. Surely on the steeper climb he's going to put another kick, another turn of pace.
And if you're wondering who the other couple of races were in picture, they've actually been lapped. One of them was one of the Austrians, Max Hauke, wearing bib number 93. But now, is this the masculine version of Marit Bjørgen and Teresa Johaug, is this Finn Hagen Krogh saying, I'm going to cling onto your ski tails because I want the run down into the stable and I want to have a sprint with you.
And then that's interesting, Sundby looking over his shoulder, and he didn't see it, but I think that Krogh is on his absolute limit. He's on survival at the moment.
Yeah, Marit Bjørgen was very confident about her finishing sprint, wasn't she? And here, look at the three. They are really laboured now. Is Dario Colonia in that pack there? He might well be. And they've got them in their sights.
It's a huge task to close that margin of gap. It's now, what, 17, 16 seconds at this late stage in the race.
Yeah, but late stage, but we're just coming through the Durchgang. We're not coming to the finish. We've got the last climb to still do here.
Yeah, 2.8 kilometres still to go.
Yeah, and it's this next killer kilometre that could really make the chasing three, Halvarsen, Schirota, Paul Goldberg, really pay for not really giving it enough early on.
And here they come. They're cutting the corner. The right-hander nice and tight there. Goldberg, the sprinter, really, if it came down to these three to the line next time, you would feel that Goldberg would be the man.
Yeah, so he wants to do as little as possible to conserve as much energy as possible. Now we're looking for the chasing group over that left shoulder, and where are they? There they are. There, you can see it now.
Oh, it's unlikely they can close this gap.
40 seconds. Actually, just looking at that, though, they're still leaking time to the leaders. The leaders are accelerating. Those three are not closing on the leaders, that's for sure. We're looking for 21. That's Didrik Tørnset leading that group there. 11, that's Alex Harvey in that group as well. 59 seconds, so 19, 20. Actually, Halvarsen, Goldberg, Schirota have held the deficit in that last, kilometre. So finally, the second trio have actually woken up to the reality of the situation. And I thought that would happen because now they're fighting themselves for third place.
They have to keep the pace strong now. Tørnset, remember last year on this track, it was an individual 15 kilometre. I think he won that, yes he did, he won that race a year ago to date on these tracks.
Tørnset, yeah, I'll just have I'm sure you're right, Mike, but we'll just double check that.
My brain's working.
Tørnset in 2014. He was actually third in the 15 kilometres, our personal best last year.
I take it back.
No, hang on a second. Third's very good. He's on the podium. No criticism at all. But now, here we go. Finn Krogh's got past Sundby again. So what Finn Krogh's been doing is being conserving. He's been assessing Sundby's body language, he's been assessing his skis, and now rather fancies the task. And there's Sundby under a little bit of pressure because he's gulping in the oxygen there, and look at the extension on the skis. Now you see Finn Krogh believes that he's got better equipment.
Well, maybe he does. He was on survival mode just, what, 4 minutes ago. He's got some energy back. He realises it's the last climb, the last big climb.
Marit Bjørgen was on survival mode.
Well, she was as soon as she was absorbed. But obviously the descent into the finish line is an easy final 1.2 kilometres.
It is, but just having a look at this Halvarsen. Halvarsen's obviously speeding up there from the indication there. He's travelling quickest of all. Now Sundby, has he misjudged this? You see, I think when he made that break on the third rotation, going up the first 900 metres, I think he should have thrown the kitchen sink at that. Because I think he's given hope here to Finn Hagen Krogh, who is he's no slouch.
He certainly is not. And what Sundby did last year, David, to win all 3 mini tours, it's never been done before, was quite outstanding. And he desperately wants this one, and there's his break now. But Krogh is matching for now.
Well, he's got to do a Marit Bjørgen now. This was where Marit Bjørgen, he's done exactly the same. He's skipped tracks and now gone on to the ski tails. He's done that at exactly the same place that Marit Bjørgen did to Therese Johaug. But Marit got her ski tips a little closer to Therese just to annoy her, and now here's the stride, and he's pulled out a metre and a half, 2 metres. Now Finn Krogh's got to dig in here.
If Sundby could only see the body language of Finn Hagen Krogh, he'd realise that he can snap him, he can break him by the top of this rise.
Well, he knows that he's got to break in because of the sprinting potential of the man who's pursuing him. 2 meters, 3 meters now.
I love the compression, the stride from Sumbi at the front. There's so much force through the ski, but I think we're looking at a broken Crow here.
And chasing up here, they haven't really made much impression. And
but look at the big pack. They must have it down now to what, 10, 11 seconds?
Yeah. Kalle Halvarsson still there, 21. This is Turnseth leading, and he's leading Dario Colonia. And then after that, that's Drihag. Then 11, Alex Harvey in there. 8, also close enough, Matti Häkkinen. 30, that's the Frenchman. Oh, it's actually Polteranin, I should say. And Shirota's gone, and he's broken his man. So he was confident. And now he's on the descent down. He's got 1,700 metres, less than that to go. And now surely the race is going to be his.
What an athlete Sundby to have made the decisive. He put in some early surges of pace, but at last he's managed to snap Krogh.
Yeah, now Crow is in that really uncomfortable position of being on his own. He doesn't really know what's going on behind him, and it's hurting. He's in real pain zone now. And he couldn't even actually, because of the snowbank there, he couldn't actually see the situation here. This is Paul Goldberg ahead of Shirota, and Kalle Halvarsson now being caught by the accelerating tempo there of Turnseth, who, as you said, was so good on this track a year ago, and he's going to have the better of Halvarsson very shortly. And Colonia coming up here, 18. That's the tall figure of Rickardson. 6 on the left there, Didrik. That's Drihag. And over the roller coaster bridge goes Jonsrud Sundby.
The only weakness in Sundby's game, David, is the out-and-out sprinting when it comes to the sprint finals. But actually, by not going through all those sprints and into the finals and the semi-finals on Friday, I think it's helped his game here. He said that in actually one of the interviews as well. But what an athlete, what a desire he has, and what a great leading figure for the Norwegian team. He's a real team player.
30 years of age, so really at the height of his powers. The World Cup champion last year with victories over 30 kilometres in Kuusamo, 50 kilometres in the Tour de Ski, 15 kilometres freestyle in Lahti, 30 in Falun, runner-up in the Classic 50 in Oslo. Absolutely fantastic season. At altitude, he was 3rd at Davos over 30 kilometres. Endurance is the name of the game. He was 7th here on this course last year, so he knows it as well as Turnseth. And he's coming home now. And he also got a top 10 in the 15 Classic in Toblach within the Tour de Ski. And this is not as close as yesterday. It's by a clear and considerable margin. But he's proving at the early start, the early phase of the season, that his success last year in the World Cup was no fluke.
Well, that was a superhuman performance up the final climb. He didn't need to. He had a huge lead, but they loved it. He loved it.
Olympic bronze medalist last year at Sochi in the skiathlon, demonstrating his skill at both classic and freestyle, and he's done it. He has won the Lillehammer triple. And coming home, Finn Hagen Krogh, you cannot fault him. 3rd in the sprint, 10th, 2nd yesterday, and in 2nd place today. That's a good little series from him.
And Krogh, well, he only faded in the last, the last 1.9 kilometres.
He started 20 seconds ahead of Sundby. And here the race there on the far side there. That's Paul Goldberg going through to the left of your picture. Shirota on the right. And it's going to be Norway in 3rd, Norway in 4th, Norway in 5th. Turnseth's coming home now. And Turnseth gets 5th place, and Norway, well, the women did 1, 2, 3, 4. The men have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Halvarsson, well, he didn't bring much to the party at the end of the day. Polteranin really moved up there, and a much better day for the Kazakh cross-country skier, enjoying the endurance. 15 kilometres freestyle, 7 going across the line there. Belov and Legzhanin. And
what a race. I noticed at the last split time, Andrew Musgrave was down in 50th position, 2:47 behind.
Yeah, I think it was inevitable because he's still got a lot of work to do on his classic skiing, but no one can take away yesterday's performance from him. And this was always going to be a different sort of race. And Fabiani, again, top 20, that's a good result from him. Petter Northug in 15th place. That will tell him that he's really got to think about where he is in terms of his pre-season preparation and his racing over this weekend.
I'll tell you what he also needs to think about. He needs to think about improvement, and quite quickly, because they will be looking at the World Championships team clearly into the new year.
Yeah, because at the moment you could only consider him as a sprinter, nothing else.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought about Northug, isn't it? Because they've got men who can do the classic, they've got men who can do the freestyle, and if it comes to even to the men's 4x10 relay, where in every season I can remember, Petter Northug would be the first name on the start list for the Norwegian team.
As the anchor man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
maybe that's not the case at the moment.
Don't think so. The rest of the athletes in the Norwegian team have lifted their game in the classic, in the freestyle.
Well, congratulations to Martin Jonsrud Sundby and an outstanding Norwegian effort. So the biathlon continues at 1:15 Central European time, the women's pursuit. Over on Eurosport 2 at the same time, you can see the conclusion of the Nordic combined, then the ski jumpers, and then we're across to North America. Matt Chilton, your host with the women's tour, and Nick Fellows and John Clark with the men in Beaver Creek in their two-leg giant slalom. But there's Jonsrud Sundby. Can we grab a couple of words from him, I wonder? Perhaps not. What a pity. From Mike Dixon and myself, David Goldstrom, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. For the moment, bye-bye from Lillehammer.